Hello, everyone. Glad to be back. Even if it is in some weird online capacity, we're going to make the best of it. I'm hoping that you can see my screen. I do have Clever pulled up on Gallopade on the app. Your book is available there. I did assign it to you last night. It will close on Friday. So let's start by just saying hello. Um, Get comfortable, grab you a nice hot cup of tea. I am drinking a new oolong tea this morning. Remember back to our unit on China, we talked about how tea came from there, how it was created there. And even if we didn't, now I'm telling you. And let's talk about how we're feeling because I've got several messages from you all stating how you're feeling going into this online platform. Just know that we're feeling the exact same way that you are. Not a big deal. I did create a small little survey, questionnaire, things that you'll need to answer following this lecture, and it will be posted in Teams. So let's start by addressing one of the questions I put on there purposefully for the fact that you would have to watch this video in order to answer some of these questions. So, one of the questions I asked was, which of the following Inside Out characters do you most relate to? If you've never seen the movie and you have Disney Plus, please go watch it. It's really, really great. Even though it is a cartoon, it really addresses some emotional issues. So go ahead and view that whenever you get time. But I said, which one do you relate to today going into online learning? So do you relate to Red? This is Anger, obviously. He's a funny little guy. Are you angry? Are you very upset that we had to do this, and why? Are you angry because of just other situations? Are you mad that Corona has just taken over the way it has? I know I feel angry about it, but are you feeling this way today? And if you are, reach out. Let me know. Let's get some things going. Let me talk to you. Do you feel green, little miss disgust, or you could say envy? Are you jealous of those around you that are still getting to stay in school? Are you disgusted by the fact that people act so angry about coronavirus? Maybe you feel this way. I know sometimes I feel this way because I just don't like the way some people act, and you got to make the best of a bad situation. So if you're feeling this way, let me know. This is green, by the way. Are you feeling blue? So this is Miss Sadness. Are you sad that we had to go online? Um, are you feeling down because you feel like you don't know what you are supposed to do or how you're supposed to react to all of this ever-changing situation? If you feel this way, you can click the blue answer. I know I've got a lot of this one. So are you feeling scared? Are you feeling nervous or fearful? This is purple. I know a lot of you, I've got some messages, have been very scared about starting this online journey because you feel like you don't really know what to expect. So if you're feeling a little purple today, make sure you click purple. And then I goofed up and forgot to assign a color to happiness. I don't know what that says about me, but I'm going to let you pick either one of these for the fifth option that I put on there. So the fifth option was pink or multicolored. So I originally had him in mind. This is like silliness, happiness. So you can also click that for happiness. So pink or multicolored. Are you happy that we went online? Is this a sigh of relief for you? Are you excited about getting started online? So if that applies to you, click pink or multicolored. And you may be feeling a little mixture of both. I know I am. I woke up this morning. I'm very happy to be back. I'm very nervous. And a little sad. I'm a little sad that when I got to come back in full capacity that it was in this format. It sort of stinks a little bit. So I guess you could say I'm just a little bit of everything. Not really angry, not really disgusted, but I'm feeling more than one thing today. So anyways, let's go ahead and get started. Hopefully you can see your screen. This is actually going back to chapter 6. I think we need to touch on this before we move on to anything else for chapter 14. So if you want to follow along with me in your book, it starts on page 35 in your Gallipade text. This is a map. You have the same map on the bottom of page 35 or a more detailed one at the top of page 35. But this is the Roman Empire. And at its height, it goes from North Africa, it goes into the Middle East, it goes through all of Europe, and it was just very, very large. And we talked about at this point in time, it became so large that it became almost unmanageable to govern. And because of that, they decided to split. So if you remember back to Diocletian, that real funny name that nobody ever knows how to say, Diocletian decided to split the empire. And here's where problems started. No two governors or no two leaders always see eye to eye. So more than not, one side is going to be weaker than the other side. In this case, the Eastern Roman Empire, which eventually became the Byzantines, was the stronger of the two. The Western side was invaded by the Visigoths. It talks about that on the top of page 36 in your text in 476 CE or AD. So they're invaded. It all comes crashing down. But after chapter 6, we don't really know what happens. It sort of leaves us on a cliffhanger like, well, the eastern half we know becomes Byzantine. It thrives, lots of art, lots of architecture, culture. We talked about the Hagia Sophia, that very specific mosaic dome type of architecture that's famous because of the Byzantine Empire. We talk about how it thrives, but we don't really ever pick up with the Western half until now. So Eastern half, Justinian, we talked about Justinian. He takes over. He, puts law and order in place. He creates the Code of Justinian, which I think we can all agree was sort of harsh, but it was the order they needed. They continued to thrive. The Eastern half sort of falls into ruins for many, many years, but then it starts slowly picking back up. So we know in the Western half that, they're right there in the Middle East, but they still end up being very Christian, a lot of Christianity still thrives. Same thing happens in the Eastern, the Eastern side. You do have a lot of dark mystical things that come up. You do have some paganism. You do have a little bit of dabbling in the dark arts. But for the most part, Christianity takes a stronghold in the Eastern half. So that's a question. So if you need to write that down, or you can go back and view this video later. Christianity really takes hold. The Catholic Church, or what will become the Catholic Church, really picks up. People start converting to Christianity. The papacy is formed. That's a vocabulary term in chapter 14. The Pope, he is still around today. That's something that's been around for centuries now. The Pope and the cardinals and all of those, leaders in the Catholic faith, all of that starts to come about during this time. So if we flip back and we look back to chapter 14, and I'll go ahead and tell you where that's located. I'm going to flip in my book with you all. I do have it here with me, a student version, so that we're all learning together. Chapter 14, go ahead and flip to page 76. This is where we're going to start. This past week, you should have been dabbling in a little bit of the European geography. You did have an open book map quiz on that, or you should have. Please let me know if you did not. But you talked about all the different varieties. So we talked about this back at the beginning. China has a lot of diversity in geography. The Middle East has a lot of geography differences. Europe is massively different. The bottom part, Italy, Spain, it typically is very warm, very humid. The parts of Europe that touch Africa can just be really, really hot. But then you have these places up northern, like where the Vikings were, and it's cold year round, lots of snow. You have the Mediterranean Sea, which you can see here, the Black Sea. You have mountain ranges, so like the Alps. I've always wanted to go to the Alps. I think that's a fascinating history there in my ancestry, is the Swiss lineage that I have. You have rivers, of course. You have now that you're touching the Atlantic Ocean. So you're out in this Atlantic Ocean part. So lots of different variety in geography. But then we start looking into more of the historical side. And I personally love teaching the Middle Ages. It's like one of my favorite things to teach. So hopefully I can do it a little bit of justice. But the first thing that you see on page 76, the very first subheading is Christianity. It's again, it's huge. It's thriving. You have that vocabulary word papacy, the Pope and his power. Now, I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but that will sort of get a little corrupt. We'll see that happen. We will see that happen within 7th grade. But this is where, no one questions authority. The church is in control. So like today we have the president and his, office in the executive branch. We have legislators. We have the judicial branch. We have checks and balances. This did not exist in the Middle Ages. No one questioned the church's authority. Everyone just believed that they had our best interest. They had their best interest at heart. They were the ones that communicated with God. So if anyone that is Catholic today, this branch of Catholicism is a little, this is different. This is very different than the Catholic Church of today. So don't get the two confused. The Catholic Church of today has its own system of checks and balances, but back then it was just the Pope, the cardinals, the monasteries, the monks, the nuns. People just dedicated their lives to the idea that Christianity is a way of life. There's no outside of Christianity. It is the way. It is the only way. I'm sorry, that sounded just like The Mandalorian when I said this is the way. This is the way. But yeah, I guess you could relate to that with The Mandalorian because it's their way of life. There is no other way of life. Sorry to get on that little Star Wars tangent, but still, you could relate that. So you have this on page 77. It talks about cathedrals. It talks about monasteries. I'm going to show you a little bit of that on here. I'm going to go ahead and close chapter 6. I'm going to go ahead and go back to our unit on, wrong thing. I'm still playing along too. Okay, so I'm going to go to our unit. We are on unit 5. We are starting the Middle Ages. And we're going to talk about life in medieval Europe. It was sort of crappy. There's not the church, but just the way that they had to live. You'll see what I mean in a minute. So let's go ahead and view. I have assigned these images to you on Clever as well. So if you want to go and view these, you have access to do that. Let me make this a little smaller so you can see it on your screen. Let's see. Oh, too small. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these images. So you can see here in this picture of Pope Gregory I. We're going to talk about him in just a minute. But look at the way he is dressed. He has all the ornate features. He is holding the biblical scripture in his hands. His crown, I can only imagine how much that crown would be worth. Just very influential. And people didn't question it. The Pope has the power. God has granted him the power. So we are to follow it and not question it. Sorry. Tea break. Okay. So 597, Gregory I decided that England should be Christian. So all of England. That is a country. That is not Europe. Europe is the continent. England is the country. He decides it needs to be Christian. So over the next century, following his papacy or his leadership, most of England converted to the faith. So they are Catholic. Catholic is a branch of Christianity. During this time, it is really the only branch of Christianity. Protestant doesn't happen till later on, 1500s. So if you are Christian, you are Catholic. You're going to see this word Anglo-Saxon invaders. So this is just sort of a primitive group of people, sort of like the Visigoths in a way, that come from England, Ireland, and that area. So it talks about St. Patrick. Okay, St. Patrick was a missionary, St. Patrick's Day. So, when we have St. Patrick's Day and we're at school, we will celebrate that in medieval fashion. And he was a missionary that tried to escape Anglo-Saxon invaders. Once in Ireland, Patrick sought to convert people of Ireland to Christianity. He established monasteries and converted many Irish people to Christianity. So, little side note, St. Patrick is a real person, and that's where St. Patrick's Day comes from. But a lot of Europe at this time, now we're talking right after the fall. So 476, we're talking the 500s, the 600s, 700s, 800s, 900s. People are converting to the faith. So your book makes it sound like it just happened overnight, but it was hundreds of years of converting people to this Catholic faith. If we take a look at page 78, and again, there are some questions. We'll go over those tomorrow in our video lecture. Today I just want to talk about the material. You also have someone called Charlemagne. I just love Charlemagne. By the way, Charlemagne, spelled CHARLEMAGNE. That is your code word for this video, and that's one of your questions. So make sure you write that down. If you missed my spelling, go back, review it, or it's one of your subheadings on page 78. That is your code word for this video. Why? Because he is so important. I just love him. So I'll just give you some of what the book says. You can always go back and read this on your own. But it says the Roman Catholic Church provided order and justice in the centuries after the fall of Rome. Still, Europe remained divided and disorganized. So there's really no what you call countries. Like the countries you look at today, like France and Germany and Italy and Spain, none of those were formed at this time. They were just small little groups of people, really no leadership. They just sort of had their own system of doing things. But the Catholic Church gave them the order that they needed so that they could have leadership within their communities. It really combined these like-minded groups of people, and that's where your country started forming. This changed when one of the most important people in Western civilization, and therefore world history, accomplished something extraordinary. That man was Charlemagne, or you can refer to him as Charles the Great. I'm always going to call him Charlemagne. You're not going to convince me otherwise. His name is Charlemagne. End of story. And in 771 CE, Charlemagne inherited the Frankish kingdom. So if you want to burn something into your brain, the Frankish kingdom is France. F, Franks, F, France. Just burn that into your brain somewhere. This kingdom was located in what is now France, Germany, Belgium, and other areas of Northern Europe. So whenever you get to world history in freshman year, just if you could remember Franks, F, France, F, you'll remember that area. And in this class, I don't know why I said you just needed to know that for world history. Charlemagne embarked on a series of wars to expand his rule. By 800, he ruled all of Central and Northern Europe. In that year, the Pope crowned Charlemagne the Emperor of the Romans. Not since Roman times had Europe been so united, and Charlemagne continued to shape and define medieval Europe. So that's big, because up until this point, everything that the eastern side, it had totally collapsed after years of the Roman Empire. And now for the first time, you have this man who is recommended and appointed by the Pope. It's like almost like a king. Like he is just, and side note, he is made king on Christmas. So happy King's Day to Charlemagne on December 25th. Charlemagne was one of the most influential Charlemagne was one of the most influential people who ever lived. One of his greatest achievements is that he established feudalism. I love feudalism. Throughout his empire, feudalism was a system of government in which nobles gave land to lesser nobles to govern the exchange for loyalty and military service. Well, this is a hierarchy. This is the exact same social hierarchy in a way to Japan. Okay, so if you want to view that and see how they're the same, bottom of page 80 sort of shows you it's not exactly a pyramid, but I mean it is a pyramid. There's Charlemagne. Look how handsome he is. He is just looking great in that ruby and emerald crown. And then hold on. Oh, why did I not scroll down when I was saying this? There's the Frankish Empire. You can see how large it is. Paris is there in the middle. That's where it's Paris is a city today in France. Is where the Eiffel Tower is. And then please show me a feudal pyramid. Come on. Yes. Okay. So there's the pyramid. The king is on top. Nobles and church officials. Those are what I have told you. Like the people that run those churches, your cardinals, your high-ranking officials in the church, they are below. Really, you have to think of the king and the pope both being on top because you can't really do one without the other. The pope is the leader of the religion and the Catholic Church. The king is the leader of your kingdom, but they're both one and the same because the pope sort of appoints the king and the king serves the pope, so they're really both up there. Then you have your knights and vassals. So if you think back to when we studied Japan, that's a question, by the way, they had the samurai and the daimyos and the emperor, right? But these knights are sort of the equivalent to your samurai. They both fight and protect the people above them. And then you have your vassals. Those are, I think that is a vocabulary term. Let me make sure I'm not. So like a lord, like you know how people can be lords and ladies. So you have that along with so they're sort of your landowners, and your serfs and your peasants work and serve those landowners. So these serfs and peasants were sort of your mill workers, people who serve the people above them, people that harvested crops. You all know what a peasant is. I don't have to go into detail, but they all worked together to serve the people above them. So Japan has that same hierarchy. So make sure you get that question right when you're answering these on. And there is a medieval style cathedral. This is a little bit more modern than what I'm looking for. I'm going to see if they have another older picture on here. Oh my God, that's so beautiful. That is so beautiful. I love that, but a little bit too modern for what we're looking for. Let's see. Oh, perfect. So Whitby Abbey. There's a show on Netflix called Downton Abbey. I've never watched it, but maybe check it out. This is a 7th century monastery. So, wow. So much of it is still standing. That is amazing. So remember, 7th century is in the 600s. So this church was around before Charlemagne was like probably alive. Maybe. I don't know. I'll have to like look up his birth date. They probably, a lot of time during this period, like there's not a lot of records unless you were just really important. But he was. So I'll look at that and maybe I'll put a post up on Teams later confirming that. But the 600s, that is really before any of Eastern Europe has came together. But you can still see really strong Catholic and Christianity roots even before all of these empires start coming together to create the Holy Roman Empire. So that is all that I want to share today. Tomorrow, we're going to take a deeper dive into feudalism, what each of their roles were, more specifically. We're going to take a look at the medieval manor and how that looks. I'm going to show you some layouts of what that manor would have looked like. And we will talk more about medieval Europe and leading up to William the Conqueror. Fantastic movie. Gosh, I wish I could recommend it to you, but there's no way, like, it's not age appropriate. But we will talk about all of the Middle Ages leading up to William the Conqueror tomorrow. Reminder, you have some assignments. So let me show you where those are. Okay. So let's see. I don't know if it's going to let me show you or not. I'm going to try it anyway. So I'll walk you through it either way. So when you're on my assignment, you will be on the post. So the assignment was posted this morning for the video lecture. Also, last question is going to say, what color shirt am I wearing? The answer is navy, Navy. So if you've watched all the way up until this point and you don't get that correct, you just can't flip flop around in my lecture video. You're not just going to find that answer anywhere, but the answer is navy. So you're going to go to the assignments tab, and under assignments, you will see video lecture assignment that is due by 8 a.m. tomorrow, because you are supposed to be doing these with me daily. So make sure you get that done. It's like 5 questions. One of them is like, put your name in class, period. There's 50 points just for that. So very easy. We're just testing the waters. And then on Wednesday, you have an assignment to do compare and contrast feudalism and the medieval manor and how they differ. Then you have a primary source. It's a photo, so that'll not be too difficult. So chapter 14, you have a photo primary source that you'll need to answer some questions for. And then you have your chapter 14 quick quiz that will be due on Friday. You're more than welcome to work ahead. I'm not going to recommend it because things are a little crazy right now. But if you want to work ahead, that's fine. Just know you're still going to be required to get on here daily for posts that I may post, videos I may post. There are some video clips that I want you to watch in the Files tab. So when you're on your Microsoft Teams page, if you click Files and then you click the Middle Ages tab, there's going to be a Word document there. And it says video clips. You're going to click on video clips. And on the video clips, there are some hyperlinks. They should be blue. You should be able to either click them with your mouse, do a CTRL click, or worst case scenario, copy the link, post it in a search tab, or you can copy the link and post it directly into YouTube. If they don't end up working for some reason, please send me a message and let me know. If you have any more questions about this lecture, I know this is longer than I wanted it to be, but we're just being goofy today. We're just being new boot goofing. So if you have any questions about the material, anything in the book, you still need to be answering the questions in your book. I'm going to take some time to sort of go over those in depth tomorrow, but please be answering these questions. They're very vital to the quiz that you're going to be taking Friday. So answering the questions, make sure you've read all of the material, watch this lecture, and do the little 5-question quiz for today. I am going to be counting that for a grade. So I love you all. Hope this has been rather informative, and I will see you tomorrow. I can't figure out how to close this. I can't figure out how to stop recording. Okay. What is this? Oh, nope, don't want to do that. Well, let's just see. I'm recording video. Oh, okay. Bye.